You know, you're going to hear a lot of bellyaching about the fact that it was Roger Goodell, the commissioner, who was the arbiter here. So people are saying, oh, he was the judge, he was the jury. Speaking of which, joining our conversation, Judge Napolitano.
Liz.
Okay, he had his moment in the sun to appeal. He did not win that appeal on the suspension. Tom Brady loses.
Right.
What happens next?
Nothing. He suffers the punishment because even though this seems odd to our notion of fairness and due process, that, as you said so nicely, the commissioner, Roger Goodell, could be judge, jury, and executioner, that's the process agreed to by the players' union in the collective bargaining agreement. Tom Brady, like everybody else, as a member of that union, is bound by the collective bargaining agreement. Guess what? The collective bargaining agreement requires you to cooperate with investigators, allows them to draw negative inferences if you don't cooperate, allows them to draw negative inferences if you destroy evidence. So Tom Brady basically said to the NFL, come and get me. And they came and got him.
And therefore, to quote the song, shut up and dance. Okay, that's it. They chose it. Right, Mike? I mean, I think the judge is right on here. You adhere to the rules that you agreed to in the beginning.
And that's exactly what I've been saying, is that Tom Brady, because he's so popular, because he's so big, because he is a superstar and a household name, he probably felt like, you know what, how can you do this to me, of all people? I am the poster child of your league. But the NFL, and with Roger Goodell's decision day coming down and saying, well, look, I don't care who you are, no one player, and it should be this way, is bigger than the Shield. And I think a lot of players around the league who don't play on the New England Patriots are also applauding this decision as well, because there have been times in the past where other players, other teams have felt like the Patriots have been treated a different way than the other players of the other teams because of the relationship that Roger Goodell has with Kraft, of the owner of the New England Patriots. So I think they're looking at that and saying, well, if it can happen to Tom Brady, then it can happen to anybody. You
know, there's an interesting procedural quirk here, and I'd be anxious to hear what our colleagues think of this. The punishment was not just against Tom Brady. It was also against the New England Patriots, who lost a first-round draft choice. That's potentially very harmful to them.
And $1 million.
And $1 million. They caved. They decided not to appeal.
Right.
They let Tom Brady hang out on his own. Did they send a message to the commissioner? We think our golden boy is guilty and we're not going to stick by him?
No, there were some reports that came out that said that because the Patriots did what they did by falling on the sword, that they were hoping that Roger Goodell will look at that as a sign that says, oh, look, you know what? Be easy on our guy. Take it easier on our guy. But that wasn't the case whatsoever. And $1 million fine is nothing for the Patriots.
Erik's our player in this conversation. As a player, when you hear the judge say, look, you sign on, you are part of the players' union, that's what you agree to, and you follow those rules.
Yeah, you know, and I agree with what Mike said. You know, I was a representative in the union, and that was a big issue in all of our meetings. You know, we need to change something about Roger Goodell being the judge, the jury, and, you know, and having the final say on the appeal. But it was never changed. It was agreed upon, and it's something that they have to follow. You know, it's frustrating as a player, but, you know, at the same time, those are the rules, and you have to follow them.
Let me just ask you guys this, and you can all yell and scream at me, as I'm sure our viewers will through the Twitterverse if I'm way off on this. But and I'm not making any equation to any kind of doping or drug use. But I just watched a documentary, Judge, about Lance Armstrong, and the lying and the believing.
Right.
And I believe it was Mike who said, you know, you say something long enough, you start to believe it.
Right.
When you're on the top for as long as you are, like Lance Armstrong was and like Tom Brady is, because he still arguably is at the top.
Yes.
Psychologically, do you see that start to happen where somebody says, well, I can beat this no matter what. I'm Tom Brady.
Right. I would be anxious to hear what Erik thinks about this as a still active player. Does a guy like this, who's Mr. Perfect, he's worth a fortune, he's physically gorgeous, his wife is gorgeous, they are icons, he plays for the best team, he might be the greatest, Joe Montana, forgive me, he might be the greatest quarterback of all time, certainly the greatest quarterback playing. Does he think he's not going to get caught? Does he think there's a reason he's got to have an edge beyond the natural talent that God gave him and that he developed?
Erik?
Yeah, you know what? I think that, you know, with winning, there's it's like an addiction. You know, you always see guys like, you know, Kobe Bryant mentioning how he doesn't have friends, and, you know, they always want that edge, and it's kind of an addiction. And I think that getting those advantages, being untouchable, he's won so many Super Bowls. Like you said, he's considered one of the greatest quarterbacks to play the game. I think that sometimes you can feel like you're above the rules, especially when you're called out in front of the world. So I think there was a bit of arrogance on this case. I think Robert Kraft was probably was given the facts, and that's why they dropped out with their appeal. And Tom Brady just continued just because of arrogance, to press the issue.
And there's some arrogance in all the cheaters out there. What cheater thinks that he's going to be caught?
Right.
Whether it's a woman or Marion Jones, A-Rod, Barry Bonds, or anybody that's cheated the game in any capacity whatsoever, they don't think they're going to get caught. That's why they continue to do it.
That's Mike Hill. Everybody should watch his show. You're on at 5 p.m. Eastern, right?
5 p.m. Eastern time on Fox Sports.
Because I've been a member of your America's Talking panel, and it's hot.
Yes, you have been. Yes, you are an alum.
Mike Hill of Fox Sports 1, Erik Coleman, a superstar player. Thanks for joining us both, and Judge Napolitano, who rushed down and got in the chair from Fox News. Thank you so much.
Pleasure, Liz.
Really appreciate it.